Alright, so this is the progress on the Hasbro 29-inch Millennium Falcon that sold at Walmart, I think in 2014, for about 30 bucks. And so basically doing this for a photo shoot. I was looking to photograph a Millennium Falcon, and I wanted to do something, get something that was photorealistic, so I decided that might as well just build one. This is my first attempt at all this. I made a lot of mistakes along the way. Glad to share some of these with you because I know there's a lot of people out there that are doing this conversion. Some a little bit more basic than others. I'm going to do as much as I possibly can. So as you're seeing here, I'm just looking at the top part of the product. It comes with the bottom part, which I'll show you the wiring in another video. So far, a couple things just to note. I'll talk about the paint job in a minute, what I've done here to get the effects that I've achieved, good or bad, and talk a little bit about some of the conversion components. So yes, like everybody else, I followed suit on the internet and went the Shapeways route and purchased pretty much 90% of the Shapeway products that are designed for the Falcon itself. So what you're looking at, I assembled quickly just for this video, is the radar. Even though there's one that comes with the product itself, it's not movie accurate. This one is. Same with the turret. I drilled a hole in the top part here. I did purchase the component to change this, but unfortunately that's not my skill level, so I basically just decided to keep this one here, drill the hole in here, and add the cannon here. I also have the turret that's actually in there. It's being taped in there right now just because I'm pre-wiring that. And then I have the turret window, which is installed as well. I also have the vents that are off to the side over here, okay, and then the vents in the back. I've installed those. So these out of the box are supposed to be stickers that you put in there. That's not going to work. So I got the vents, put them in there, talk a little bit about that when we get a chance. I'll show you what one of them looks like because they've got some paint. I don't know whether or not you're able to sort of see this at all, but I'll get some close-ups in there afterwards. But they're very, very fine detail, very, very nice. So you got that. So a couple of things as it relates to the actual hull itself. I worked with a dark gray primer that I spray painted the exterior with. Underneath, I did a black coat so there would be no light sort of penetrating through, because I am going to have a lot of lights underneath here. So I used a very dark black coat, so I've got the gray on the top, and then I used a beige sort of tan color that I've coated the top with. And I only did one coat there. And those were enamel paints. And then these over here are also a cocktail of sort of some colors that I came up with for the reds. I had to redo those a couple of times. So these are also enamel paints. And the gray is as well. And they were airbrushed on. And then after that, once I did a dull coat on all of this, then I went ahead and what I did was I used oil paints to come up with some of the streaking that you're seeing here. Now, not all of this is oil paints. I'll talk about that in a moment. So I did some of the rusted ones that you've seen there, some of the common streaks. I've also used oil paints within here as well. And then I did a dull coat on top of that. And then by accident, what I ended up doing was I came across some pigments that I liked, and some of them were tanned and some of them were smoked color. And what I decided to do in that specific case was this tan one that I had, I just brushed the entire Falcon in this. Okay, so this is pretty much covered in pigments, and that's why it's giving it this very filthy look. I will say that I did try and do a wash, and it turned out horrible. It was a colossal waste of time. It was a giant mess. And if I were to do another one of these, I would not do a wash again. So I started off with the pigments to actually get some of the dark areas within the cracks over here, and that worked out really well. And then I resorted, like I said, back to this more sandy one, and then just brushed everything. And then a lot of the strokes, a lot of the streaking that you're seeing here, like over here and down here, those are actually pigments. I would just step them on and then use a dry brush and clean them all off. So that's pretty much what I did for the outer surface. I'll show you some closer details of these here, but they've also been covered in pigments. I decided to just do pigments on everything. I mean, even the guns, everything over here, I would just pretty much paint these on and give myself this really nice dirty look. A couple of things to note, that in the back, I've watched a lot of videos of people doing their Falcons, and everybody has a different rendition, and they all look great in their own way. One of the things I noted is that the exhaust in the back, I don't know how it's going to show up on this camera over here, but in the exhaust in the back, I decided to keep it a little bit lighter than what some other people are doing. Sometimes you see a heavy black just brushed on there, airbrushed on there. And what I was looking at is some of my source material was the Millennium Falcon, and I think the Empire Strikes Back was on Showcase. If you go into Flickr and you search for Millennium Falcon Museum, you'll see a couple of photographs of this great sized Millennium Falcon that I think it's the 5-foot one. And it didn't seem to have the darkened, the over exaggerated areas. Now, if you look at the Force Awakens one, it is very dark in the back. So you can go either way. I mean, I guess the point is that it's been done so many times, even by professionals, that they all look a little bit different. I did use pigments on the inside here as well, and I did some touch-ups afterwards with some oil paint. And of course, when I was done with everything, I went ahead and I dull coated. So at this point, I've tested all the sides. Everything works fine. All the Shapeways parts seem to fit okay. A couple things I noticed from the Shapeways parts is that the mandibles over here, I actually have front areas for the mandibles, but there's nothing back in here on the walls themselves. I'll just leave it like that, but they do have the components that fit underneath here, and I'll get into some lighting afterwards. The only thing I have not done yet is the actual cockpit itself, which is basically off to the side. I'm still drilling, and I'll get into some of the electrical and give you a little bit of a tour of what I'm doing there. So I'm very thankful for everybody that's posted how they've done things on the internet. As a newbie to this is the first time I'm doing this. I'd love to do another one. I learned quite a lot of what not to do. Most of it's been in the electrical though, because it's certainly not my department. But can't wait to photograph this thing, and if there's any takeaways you can get from these videos, I'd just like to pass along what I've done, so maybe you guys can, eliminate some mistakes or find some inspiration in certain areas. So I'm going to move on to the electrical in another video, and you can take it from there. Thanks.